She kept every rejection in a box under her bed. 23 failed dates. 12 I'll call you lies. At 32, Maya had given up on love, until the day a stranger with haunted eyes walked into her bookshop and said, "You have kind eyes. What happened next will break your heart and put it back together again." Maya kept every rejection in a box under her bed. 23 dating app conversations that went nowhere. 12 blind dates that ended with "I'll call you" and never did. Her mother's voice echoed constantly. Maybe if you smiled more. Maybe if you wore makeup. Maybe if you weren't so much. 32 she'd stopped trying. She poured herself into her antique bookshop instead, finding solace in love stories she'd never live. The shop was her sanctuary, dusty and quiet, where broken spines and forgotten romances lined the walls. She told herself she preferred it this way, the predictability of solitude, the safety of expectations already met and discarded. But late at night, when she locked up and walked home through rain-slicked streets, she'd catch her reflection in dark windows and wonder what fundamental flaw made her so easy to overlook. Was it her fuller figure? Her sharp tongue? The way she laughed too loud at her own jokes? She'd catalogued every possible reason, turned them over like river stones, smooth from too much handling. Elias arrived on a Thursday, carrying nothing but a weathered leather satchel and eyes that looked haunted. He didn't browse. He walked straight to the poetry section and stood there for 20 minutes, fingers tracing spines but never pulling a book free. Maya watched him from behind the register, unsettled by his stillness. When he finally approached with a worn copy of Neruda, their hands brushed during the transaction. His fingers were calloused, scarred. He flinched at the contact. "You have kind eyes," he said quietly, then left before she could respond. He returned every day that week, buying nothing, speaking little. On day 5, he brought her coffee, black, no sugar, exactly how she took it though she'd never told him. "You look tired," he explained. "Like you carry something heavy." The observation cracked something open in her chest. No one ever really looked at her, but Elias did. He saw the exhaustion, the resignation, the carefully constructed armor. And instead of turning away, he kept coming back, as if her heaviness didn't repel him but rather called to something equally heavy in himself. Maya learned his story in fragments. Former soldier, medic, he'd held too many dying friends in his hands. Now he wandered, unable to settle, unable to connect. "I'm not good at staying," he warned her during their first real conversation over tea in her cluttered back office. "I'm not good at being wanted," she countered. Something shifted between them, recognition, maybe. Two people allergic to hope, suddenly facing the possibility of it. They began spending evenings together after she closed the shop. He'd read to her poetry, philosophy, old love letters he'd found in estate sale books. His voice was gravel and honey, and it wrapped around her like warmth she'd forgotten existed. But Maya's old fears circled like vultures. This was temporary. It had to be. Men like Elias didn't stay with women like her. She waited for the inevitable disappointment, the moment he'd see what everyone else saw, that she was too ordinary, too damaged, too much and not enough simultaneously. Yet he kept showing up, kept looking at her with those devastating eyes that saw past her walls. It happened on a rainy Tuesday. Maya was shelving books on the ladder when she slipped. Elias caught her, and suddenly they were pressed together, breathing hard, her hands clutching his shoulders. "I should let go," he whispered, but didn't. "You should," she agreed, but moved closer instead. The kiss was inevitable and terrifying. His hands cupped her face like she was something precious, fragile. She'd been kissed before, but never like this, never like she mattered, like she was the only solid thing in a tilting world. When they broke apart, Maya's eyes were wet. "Don't," she said. "Don't do this if you're leaving. Don't make me believe in something just to take it away." Elias pressed his forehead to hers. "I'm terrified," he admitted. "I break everything I touch. I left my last post because I couldn't save them. I've spent 3 years punishing myself by staying alone. But you," his voice cracked, "you make me want to try, to stay, to believe I deserve something good." They stood in the amber light of the bookshop, Two broken people holding each other like lifelines, terrified and hopeful and unable to let go. They made love for the first time in her apartment above the bookshop, with rain drumming on the windows and candles casting shadows on walls lined with books. Elias undressed her slowly, reverently, kissing every inch of skin she'd learned to hate. "Beautiful," he murmured against her stomach, her thighs, the stretch marks she always hid. "God, you're so beautiful." Maya trembled under his worship. She wanted to deflect, to make a joke, to protect herself from the vulnerability of being truly seen. But when he looked up at her, there was such raw honesty in his eyes that her defenses crumbled. "I see you," he said, "every part, and I'm not going anywhere." When he entered her, it was gentle and devastating. They moved together like a conversation, bodies saying what words couldn't. She cried from pleasure, from release, from the overwhelming sensation of being wanted completely, exactly as she was. Afterward, tangled in sheets and each other, Elias traced patterns on her skin. "I was dead before you," he confessed, "just going through motions. You brought me back to life." Maya kissed his scarred knuckles, tasting salt and hope. "We saved each other," she whispered. His name was Marcus, and he arrived like a storm 3 months into their happiness. Elias's former commanding officer, offering him a position with Doctors Without Borders. Important work, life-saving work, the kind of purpose Elias had been searching for. Maya watched the hunger flash across Elias's face before he could hide it. That night, they didn't speak about it, but it hung between them like smoke. "You should go," she finally said in the darkness. "I know you want to." "I want to stay more," he argued, but his voice lacked conviction. The old familiar pain bloomed in Maya's chest. Of course this was how it ended. She'd been a placeholder, a rest stop on his journey to something more important. She'd let herself believe she could be enough, but she never was. She never would be. "Don't," Elias said, reading her thoughts. "Don't do that. Don't make me the villain in a story you've already written." But Maya couldn't help it. Every rejection she'd ever collected whispered that she'd been right all along. Love wasn't for women like her. She built her walls back up, brick by brick. They fractured over 2 weeks. Elias withdrew, wrestling with his choice. Maya grew cold, protecting herself from the inevitable abandonment. The fight exploded on a Friday night. "You've already left," Maya accused. "You're just too much of a coward to actually go. And you've already pushed me away," Elias shouted back. "You're so convinced you're unlovable that you're making it true." "I'm trying, Maya. I'm here. But you won't let me in anymore. Because you're leaving. You want that job. I can see it." "Yes," he roared. "I want it. I want to matter again, to do something important. But I want you more. Can't you understand that both things can be true? I want to go and I want to stay, and it's tearing me apart." The silence after his words was deafening. "Then go," Maya said quietly, fatally, "because I can't compete with your purpose. I can't be the reason you sacrifice your calling. I won't be another thing you resent." Elias left that night. Maya didn't cry. She went to her box of rejections and added a mental note. Number 24. The one that hurt most. Maya threw herself into the bookshop. She expanded inventory, hosted readings, stayed open late. Anything to avoid the apartment that still smelled like him, the bed they'd shared, the coffee mug he'd left behind. Her mother called. "I heard about the breakup. Honey, maybe it's for the best. You two were very different. Perhaps you should try." Maya hung up. For the first time in her life, she felt rage instead of resignation. No, she wasn't the problem. Her body, her personality, her too muchness. None of it was wrong. Elias hadn't left because she was unlovable. He left because he was afraid to choose happiness over purpose, and maybe she'd been afraid too. Afraid to fight for what she wanted. She'd spent her whole life accepting rejection like it was inevitable. But Elias had seen her, truly seen her, and he'd loved her. She knew that now, felt it in her bones. He'd loved her and left anyway, not because she wasn't enough, but because they'd both been too broken to believe in their own happiness. Maya pulled out the box of rejections and burned it. Every single one. She was done collecting evidence of her unworthiness. Elias came back on a winter morning, 6 months after he'd left. He looked thinner, older, more haunted. He stood outside the bookshop in the snow, just watching her through the window. When Maya saw him, her heart stopped, then started again, harder. She opened the door. "Why are you here?" "I took the job," he said. "I went to South Sudan. I saved lives. I did important work." He stepped closer. "And every single day, I thought about you. Every patient I helped, every crisis I managed. I came back to my tent at night and felt empty. Because you weren't there. Because I'd walked away from the most important thing I'd ever had." "Elias, I was wrong," he continued, voice breaking. "Purpose isn't out there in the world. It's not in medals or missions or martyrdom. It's in the life we build. It's in choosing to stay, to fight, to love even when we're terrified. You were my purpose, Maya. You are my purpose. And I was too scared to let myself have you." Maya's walls crumbled. "I was scared too. I pushed you away before you could leave because leaving was all I knew how to expect." "Then let's both be brave," Elias said, taking her hands. "Let's choose this. Choose us. I don't have all the answers, but I know I love you. I know I want to build a life here with you if you'll have me." They rebuilt slowly, carefully. Elias joined a local clinic, finding purpose in community medicine. Maya expanded the bookshop, hosting support groups for veterans and survivors. Together, they created space for broken people to heal. On their first anniversary, Elias proposed with a ring he'd made from a bullet casing transformed like him. "You're the most beautiful mistake I ever made," he said. "I thought I knew what I wanted, what I needed. I was wrong about everything except you." Maya laughed through tears. "We were both wrong. I thought no man wanted me. Turned out, I'd just been waiting for the right one. The one who saw me and stayed." They married in the bookshop, surrounded by love stories and new beginnings. And late at night, when they lay tangled in each other, Maya would think about the woman she'd been, the one who collected rejections, who believed herself fundamentally unlovable. That woman was gone. In her place stood someone brave enough to love and be loved, to be seen fully and not flinch away. She'd learned that being too much for the wrong people meant you were exactly enough for the right one. Elias kissed her forehead. "What are you thinking?" "That we saved each other," Maya whispered. "That love isn't about being wanted by everyone. It's about being chosen by someone who sees all of you, the beautiful and broken parts, and stays anyway. Always," Elias promised. "I'll always stay." And finally, Maya believed him. If this story touched your heart, hit that like button and subscribe for more emotional love stories that make you feel something real. Drop a comment telling me, what's the most beautiful mistake you've ever made? See you in the next story.